Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. This is your week of November 3rd. November 3rd and the following 7 days. Uranus energy matters this week. Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus. Like, what is going on? We have Venus at 25 in Libra. Venus, money, finances, desires, love in Libra. She wants harmony. She wants peace. She wants equality. She wants fairness. She wants to compromise. And relationships are really important to Venus here. She rules this area of the chart of the zodiac, the Libra energy. It's her ruling location. And so things should be pleasant and beautiful. And we should be diplomatic in relating and in the negotiations. All right. We have to be willing to understand we're going to have to meet somebody halfway. And that's the beauty of Venus. She starts at 25, and that is the fighting Aries degree. So Venus might be a little on the impulsive side, but she's not going to be in Aries for long or at that Aries degree for long. Venus is going to be making a move. And in a couple of days' time, right, we got her at the critical degree of 29 degrees. So you're talking like, we'll start feeling it on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Venus is busting beyond the 29 in Libra, equality, fairness, court systems, partnerships, business and private, business and professional, and personal, marriage. But then also breaking through to the 0 degrees of Scorpio. Now, this is a very different Venus when she breaks through. So you're talking 3 days in, Venus starts being a little bit on the, I'm going to fight for that. Now, true, she's in her detriment, which means we're not going to see her peace-loving and harmonious ways. This is a spicy Venus. Venus in Scorpio is a spicy Venus. All right. So we just got to keep that in mind going into the weekend and going forward. Venus will be entering Scorpio Wednesday, Thursday, depending upon where you live in the world. And this is your desire energy, Venus and Mars together, essentially, right? So that might be a focus because, Mars energy wants to bond, wants emotional bonds, wants physical bonds, wants deeply intimate. And it just wants to dive as far as it needs to dive to merge and to blend and to be together, bonded. Like that's where the desire will be very strong. And with the Scorpio energy in general and the sun there and all this good stuff, there's already a lot of that there. And of course, we know fight energy because this is Mars. This is Mars and Pluto's placement, right? In Scorpio, they rule. So there's a lot of spicy talk, possibly, but this is looking a little bit different when I say spicy talk, because our Mercury, our talking, is in Saggy. Now, the interesting thing is this week, we begin with the Mercury at 4 degrees of Saggy. Sunday, Monday, some things that the public will be interested in, news, social media stuff. We think of the justice and the judicial system, right? And because Mars is at 29 degrees and Mars has been in Scorpio and on the states at 29, there could be a Supreme Court ruling or we're hearing rumblings, something from the Supreme Court. This is likely with the Mars there. And especially when Mars gets, once Mars, the weapon, Mars, guns, knives, weapons in general, and fighting, once Mars is in Saggy, that's when we're really going to start hearing about that sort of stuff. The judicial system, the justice system. This is our freedoms. We think of travel, long distance travel with the Saggy energy. We know the ruler is Jupiter. So this is important because Jupiter is a big deal right now in the sign of Cancer. It's huge. Cancer is the public, is the moon energy, is women energy. And the public's emotional security, emotional stability, right? The public sentiment in general. This is huge here. And it's huge also because this Jupiter is barely moving. It's at a snail's pace. And it's that freedom degree because it's at 25. So this is justice. This is freedom. This is fighting for our rights because it's Jupiter at 25. But do you see the connection? Do you see how we're talking about some of the similar keywords when we hear what Mercury's reporting on? So remember, what we're hearing this week is a big deal because Mercury had just gone into the sign of rulings and justice, government figures, political figures, hopefully religious leaders, spiritual figures. Hopefully we have more people stepping up and making statements, setting a better example of the illegal things that are going on. So the Mercury's going slow here. This Mercury isn't moving fast. She's going slow because she's about to begin a retrograde. She begins her retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. You see that? She goes from 6 degrees of Saggy backwards to 20 degrees of Scorpio. All right. So that begins this week. It's at the end of the week. That's how long she sits at that 4 degrees. She's going super slow. So you're talking like Saturday, Sunday, depending upon where you live in the world. Mercury goes to 6 degrees and begins her retrograde, I should say. That's when she begins. Okay. So seeing how all this is going by so fast and the news cycles are going by so fast, keep in mind that what you're hearing about, whenever we have a Mercury retrograde, we don't really have all the bits and the pieces of news. There's information that Mercury is going backwards to gather, to go get. That's the whole point of the retrograde. She's got information that she just doesn't have. She has to go back and do either more homework, more research. She has to travel back to go get something that she forgot, something that she left behind. That's the whole goal of Mercury energy. Okay. And with that, she picks that information up and then she takes it back. And by taking it back, then Mercury has more pieces of the information. She has more of the whole story, which is always going to be super important when it comes to Mercury, because Mercury is the planet that rules your decision making. It's your mind. It's your thought process. It's your communication. It's your ability to learn. You follow? So that Mercury retrograde begins roughly, we'll say November 9th on Sunday. Okay? So with that, we're going to move over real quick a little bit here. And we're going to go to Uranus energy. Uranus is already retrograding, but it's a big deal this week because it's leaving Gemini energy. It's leaving the Gemini energy. Okay? So on the 7th, November 7th, this Uranus is going to dip into Taurus. It's going to go to 29 degrees of Taurus. So remember, Uranus is surprises and shocks and authority figures, and it's disruptions. It's meant to be disruptive. It's meant to break you out of your rut and your routine. While it's been in Gemini, in a way, it has enabled us to initiate change and to be open and willing to consider other opinions, other information, other points of view. Our mind had been kind of like an additional part of the brain lit up. We'll put it like that, right? The neurons in the brains, the neural pathways, there's lighting and firing and rewiring that goes on with Uranus and Gemini. When Uranus goes back into Taurus, some of that stops. You follow? Some of that stops because it's Taurus energy now. It's not thinking anymore. It's more about my desires. Disruptions with our desires, disruptions with our money, disruptions with our income, shocks and surprises with food and food security even, right? Because of Jupiter and Cancer and our whole desire and need for security. But the money in the bank, but also my love and values. And Taurus is a very fixed, rigid sort of a sign. It doesn't like change. It's not open to new and different. It's totally different than Gemini. So this will be a wake-up call. Even though it's leaving Gemini, which is the mind, it's going back because it's saying, oh shit, now it's disruptions with the pocketbook. Now it's disruptions with my bank account. Now it's disruptions with, the food on the table possibly, or the extra spending money, or the, my go out and have a good time, or my savings in terms of I want to go on a vacation, whatever your little, it's going to do some stuff, because that's the trajectory that this country has been on, because of the intentional disruptions that started the decisions that started the intentional disruptions in January of 2025. So with that said, Uranus enters Taurus on the 7th of November. The shocks and the surprises.